Blaine stepping up once again in Studio B. All right, Blaine.
The backup.
As the backup guy.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to ask me a trilogy question because I'm like,
I don't know.
Lord of the Rings. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. I was like,
Star Wars, Lord
please
of the
don't
Rings.
go there with me. I haven't seen either of those other ones.
We will not go there.
I can 2 words. Wonder Woman. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey,
Please make a trilogy there. Please make a trilogy.
Yeah, because that's all I have
They are
to say
making
right
the second
there.
one. I
I'm
know
just
that.
saying Wonder Woman. Awesome. Okay, that's all I'm going to
The
say.
movie was also great.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, now to the quarterbacks.
Okay, good.
Clear the air with all that movie stuff.
Why?
Well, I guess we don't have to.
No, if we had Gal Gadot, she would be the starter.
She's the
She
number one
would be
seed.
the starter.
She's the number one seed.
In her invisible jet.
She's an All-American.
She will womp on the other team. That's all I'm saying.
How would you best describe your confidence level in the BYU quarterback situation, especially the guys behind the clear-cut starter, Tanner Mangum?
It's not. I'm a little concerned, and it's not because those guys don't have talent. Because I think both Bo and Coy have the skill set that quarterbacks have had here over a long period of time. The difference is the change in offensive philosophy, which was so dramatic. I mean, it's a 180 change in what they're doing and what they're asking the quarterbacks to do. It's gone from a, hey, we're recruiting, because Robert and I, and even Brandon before him, they had decided that they were going to go with really athletic dual threat guys. So that's what they recruited. And they tailored the offense to that. So Ty comes in and goes, no, that's not what we're doing. I mean, look at the guys they're recruiting right now that are coming into the program. The younger guys that are just coming back from missions, Wilstead and Critchlow, who's going to transfer in after mission. These are drop back classic NFL kind of quarterbacks. That's what Ty wants. In the past, it's been come to the line of scrimmage, run the play we called in the huddle, and just every play works against every defense, and we're going to run so many plays, and we're going to wear them down so much that we're going to beat them to death with pace. Now, Ty comes in and says, no, you're going to come up to the line of scrimmage, you're going to read the front,
Line of scrimmage.
you're going to make a call. Yeah,
Make the call.
Exactly. And so there's so much more the quarterback has to do mentally. If Bo and Coy were the same year in school that they are right now, but they've been running this offense since they came to school, I go, we have no problems. No problems at all. But they've spent so much time getting Taysom ready to play last year and Tanner ready a year later to play that the backups have not been able to get as many reps as you would normally want them to get or have as much experience as you'd normally want them to get. So I'm confident that both Bo and Coy can play. Now, one advantage Coy has is he ran the same offense in high school. So he understands a lot of this stuff. So from a mental perspective, he's really ahead of the game. And then Bo, Bo's been with his dad breaking down film and talking about defensive keys and reads and those kinds of things since he was in high school as well. So those two guys are probably more prepared from past experience than most kids coming into a program. But they still haven't played very many reps, and they've only been in this offense for a year. It makes me nervous. One of them really has to step up and fall and be the guy.
Are you surprised by our stat today? Since 2010, 40% of BYU started a backup in 40% of the games. That's pretty crazy, right?
It's a lot. And I think a lot of that is because of the style of offense and then the quarterback that's been playing in that style. So not only was it a high risk for quarterbacks' offense from an injury perspective, but Taysom just took it to another level because he was going to leap over a guy at the goal line and get flipped over and put his arm down and dislocate his. I mean, they really had a struggle getting him to get down and get out of bounds. It just wasn't his mentality. That's what I love about Taysom. So he was in a higher risk offense, and he was just mentally a higher risk player. That's just the way he played. Jim McMahon was a high risk mentality. He wasn't. I mean, even though he wasn't playing in a high risk offense, he goes to Chicago Bears. He's diving head first and doing all kinds of things. No matter what they're telling him, that's what he's doing. Taysom's similar in that regard, but Jim in college played in a much more controlled environment in terms of the offense and how it protects the quarterback. So Tanner this year is playing in an offense with a veteran offensive line where Ty's going to make sure there's balance. I think that the running back core is deep, and so they can take some pressure off because teams are going to have to play the run. And then he's going to be in a drop-back situation where when he's running around, Tanner's mindset is going to be, I'm just trying to buy time to throw the ball downfield, not to run down the field and dive over the goal line for a touchdown. So I think his risk of injury is a lot lower, but quarterbacks, I mean, they're a target. And even when you're back there in the pocket, you're going to get smacked around. And at some point, your backup, even if it's only a few series, is going to have to play. So these guys have to get ready to go. And honestly, I'm concerned because I haven't seen them play. Now, I know both of these guys, very bright, Bo, big, strong, physical guy, very athletic. Coy, really good feet, gets the ball up on time, knows where he's supposed to go with the football. So they have the characteristics that should make them good backups. We just haven't seen it under fire in a game, and so it's hard to know. And they haven't been in this offense for 3 years.
If you had to project a depth chart on August 26th when BYU takes on Portland State at quarterback, what order would you put it in?
See, I really don't know because I don't think Ty knows. And if he did, I think I'd have a better feeling about it. But I think he's on the backup thing. He's saying, you know what? You two are battling for the backup job. You're going to get equal reps early in camp, and somebody better emerge. And it's not just about making the right throws or the guy that can throw it the most or the guy that's most athletic. It's the guy that will do what he's supposed to do the highest percentage of the time, get the ball up on time to the right guys the highest percentage of the time, and who will build the trust of the team. Because a backup quarterback, the whole offense has to feel like, oh, if Bo comes into the game, that's not a problem. We're not going to have a drop-off. If Coy comes in. So Ty's going to look for who really has the leadership reins as a backup, and that's going to play a role in it. That's something that people don't think about. Who does the offense believe in after Tanner? Because they certainly believe in Tanner, but who's the next guy that they believe in the most? Because that's a big part of the success of that position.
The incumbents, like you've talked about here, are Bo Hodge and Coy Detmer Jr. What about Cody Wilstead and Joe Critchlow? Do they have a chance at potentially being the two eventually? You'd think in game one it's probably going to be Bo.
If one of those guys has to play, it's a big problem. Because
as the number two.
Well, I don't know that they'd make that move until one of the others failed in a game situation. So it would be hard for him to move up into that role. Ty knows how hard it is to learn this, and there is such a jump in terms of speed from high school to college. I mean, first thing I noticed is in high school, when you drop back to throw, a receiver comes off of his route and he's open, he's just going to get more open the longer he runs. So you can gather yourself up and then you can lead him out in front and you're going to complete a ball. And then you come to college and he comes off of his break, that's as open as he's going to be because the DBs are going to close from the second he makes his break. So if you don't get the ball up and you're not decisive, you don't know where to go before the receiver makes his break, and then get the ball out as he's making his break, you're going to throw a bunch of interceptions and have problems. The game speed and the closing speed at the college level is night and day different than high school, and it takes some time to figure that out. And practice is one thing. Then you get in a game and you go, whoa. And I remember, and we've talked about this before, the first couple of games I got in, and I'd been here a couple of years, I just remember it looked like this. And if you're on the radio, it's just like, just bodies flying all over the place, and I don't know what color's what, and I don't know where to go with it. And it just looks terrible out there. And then eventually, everything slows down, and when things slow down to your eyes, things speed up physically. So you get the ball out on time because it's obvious of where you're going with it, and you get it out on the break in the right spot. And freshmen typically, no matter how talented and skilled they are not ready to make that adjustment. So if those guys have to play and they get out on the field, it's going to be a few games at least or more when everything's going to seem like things are flying around and nobody looks open. And what's open in college is way different than what's open in high school. So let's just hope they don't have to play. Let's hope those guys get a chance to develop the way they should and they're not forced into action.
What is a realistic expectation for Tanner Mangum, given in 2015 he throws for over 3,000 yards in an entirely different spread offense, and then the little tidbit that we saw from him last year late in games against Southern Utah, UMass, and, of course, the bowl game against Wyoming. So looking at those two dynamics, it's hard to know what you're going to get. So what's a realistic expectation for Tanner Mangum?
He's had long enough now as the guy. He should be really good. And so he has a phenomenal skill set. He can make all of the throws. He's got a great knack of being able to run around a little bit. He's athletic enough to make plays. But his completion percentage, to me, should be 65% plus this year. That's my expectation for a quarterback that's running this offense, 65% plus. I'd like to see his yards per attempt up closer to 10 yards per attempt out there. He should be much more effective throwing the ball downfield. His decision-making is what's going to make the difference. He has the skill set, but now he's long enough in this O. And remember, he's got a veteran offensive line in front of him this year. He's got a good stable of running backs to take the pressure off of him. I think Ty can put him in good situations to really complete a high percentage. So 65 to 70%. If he's not doing that, I'll be disappointed. And then if his touchdown to interception ratio isn't at least 2 to 1, I would be very disappointed in him this season. So, and I would think that he would want it better than that, maybe even 2.5 to 1 or 3 to 1. So I know those are pretty high expectations, but he's been here long enough. I know it's a new offense, but he's been in this offense for 2 springs and a fall now, and he'll have another fall under his belt. He's a very, very skilled player. So I have really, really high expectations for Tanner.
When there was a backup who became the starter and he knew he was the guy the next year, like Tanner Mangum finally has with his junior season, maybe it was Robbie Bosco or somebody else or Steve or whatever. How
It wasn't Robbie because we didn't know till after spring ball.
Till after spring,
Right.
okay. But he had the summer and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of transformation did you see in some of those guys that maybe you're seeing in Tanner Mangum now?
It's not so much a transformation. Well, Tanner just kind of had to stay in the background because it was Taysom's team. And he did the right thing in doing that because he didn't create conflict. And that shows you maturity, right? But it's not so much what Tanner does differently is as soon as Taysom graduates, the whole team now takes their leadership focus of who they're looking to and they go, because they know who it is, and they go, okay, now this is Tanner's team. Boy, we really hope he picks things up and takes the lead. And he's done that over the summer. Right now, this last couple weeks, they have workouts with new, but then they also have player run practices, PRPs. And when they're running player run practices, Tanner's in charge. And everybody's looking to him to take charge and to do it. So the expectation from his teammates is, hey, this guy's now the guy, so he's going to step up. So it's not that hard when you're the heir apparent and they know that it's you and you're not battling. You step back to last year, or a little bit more than a year ago, and they didn't know, is it going to be Taysom or is it going to be Tanner? Is Taysom coming back? What's going on? There was a little bit of an internal struggle on the team to know who do we support, who do we look to? And then it became obvious that it was Taysom, and they turned their attention to Taysom. This year, there's none of that. They all know it's Tanner. And so that focus has been squarely on him, and I think he's stepped up in a big way to take that leadership mantle. He's doing a great job.
Every quarterback has a safety blanket, Blaine. Who is Tanner Mangum's safety blanket in 2017?
Yeah, I don't know who that's going to be yet. That's we've talked in the previous weeks. That's one of my positions of, who's going to be the guy as wide receiver? And maybe it's not a wide receiver.
Is it a tight end?
That maybe it's a tight end. Maybe it's Moroni. There have been times in the past when the go-to guy has been a tight end that can run down the field. For Max Hall, I know he had Austin Collie out there, but when it was 3rd and 7 and he needed a first down, who'd he throw the football to?
Dennis Pitta.
It was Dennis Pitta.
Johnny Harleen before that.
Johnny Harleen before that with John Beck. So a lot of times in this offense, the tight end becomes what I call the chain mover. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, clutch play. Got to keep a drive alive.
It replaces Taysom's legs.
Yes. So who is that guy? It very well could be Moroni that's in that position that's a mismatch for people defensively that becomes the go-to guy. Or it could be one of the other tight ends. I really like the way the tight end core looks going into this. I have questions about the wide receiver core, not because they're not talented. I think they're deep and they'll be better this year, but I'm not sure who the go-to guy is yet. But it could be Moroni, and I expect him to be really, really big and a chain mover this fall.
Blaine Fowler breaking down the quarterback situation at BYU for the 2017 season. As I mentioned at the top of the show, over the next 9 days, we will preview each and every position group. If you want to be an expert, this is the place to be. BYU Sports Nation. Thanks, Blaine.
You bet, guys.